Bittersweet, no doubt, for our next guest, the Arsenal superfan, TalkTV host, Archbishop of Free Speech, Piers Morgan. Good morning, Piers.
And can we not let your fat shaming slide by the way? Because
Yes,
I
tell
thought
him.
you lot were supposed to be all woke over there, not doing that kind of stuff.
Stop trying to limit my free speech here, Piers Morgan. Now listen, you kindly.
For the record, I've just come from a 45-minute grueling Peloton session, and I'm bordering on emaciating, so I expect a public apology on that.
Well, we'll do a public weigh-in, and then we'll see where we go. Now, listen, you would have agreed to do this, Piers, very kindly when Arsenal had a shot at winning the league this year, and then yesterday happened. So, thank you for still doing it. How annoyed are you? How are you feeling this morning?
I'm just incredibly disappointed. I think that we were 8 points clear, and then we went on a sort of bizarre self-harming rampage where in 2 consecutive games we were 2-0 up and we didn't close either game down. We drew them both. We then went 2-0 down in 10 minutes to the worst team in the league, Southampton, who've just been relegated. We didn't turn up at Manchester City. We just like men and boys. We had a little blip where we played well at Newcastle last week, and then yesterday was just absolutely appalling. I mean, the worst performance of the year. And you think, how can this team, which has given us such joy this season and been so dominant for so long of the season, how could they end up like that? And the answer, I suspect, is they're very young as a unit, and they just look exhausted to me, like they just hit the road. And that's it's a shame for them. It's a shame for Arsenal fans. But if you're going to lose to anybody, you may as well lose to one of the great teams in history, albeit not as great as the team we're about to discuss.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think there's a really good point in that, because being the Invincibles is one of those things that will be forever remembered. There are some great teams of Premier League history. There's this one. There's the Man United team that won the treble in 1999. Tell us about the Arsenal team before we try and compare it to the Man City team, so I think that's really interesting. Did you feel all through that season this was something special going on? And what was the reason behind it?
Yes, because the end of the season before, we'd had a fantastic run, particularly of away games. I think we'd broken our record of winning away matches on the bounce. And I think that we all felt we had this extraordinary team. Arsene Wenger had come in 97, 98. He won the double in his first season. He won the double again in 2002. And we were heading towards this extraordinary situation where towards this sort of, I guess, about 10 games in towards the end, everyone began to think, wow, we could actually go the whole season without losing a game. Now, it's incredibly difficult. Even Pep Guardiola has never achieved this. Alex Ferguson has never achieved this, even with his treble-winning team in 99. So this seemed like an unthinkable thing to be doing, and yet we felt with 10 games to go, we can do this. But it became the longest, most agonizing 10 games. I mean, I remember I went to all the home games and some of the away games. There were a lot of draws, a lot of nicked games. This was not easy. It wasn't like we just strolled to the Invincibles. It was incredibly difficult. And on that last day, we actually went 1-0 down against Leicester at home. I was there, and I have quite sharp memories of that day because I'd actually been fired from the Daily Mirror the night before. So,
you win some, you lose some.
I'd fled my flat. I certainly had not proven myself to be invincible, and I'd actually fled my flat in Fulham and passed about 100 media figures trying to get, as you do, you awful people, a doorstep interview. And I remember going, and I remember it was quite comical because I came out of the ground after we'd won. And we managed to turn it around with Omri, and Vieira scored, and it was fantastic. And we'd made history with this incredible achievement. And then they were handing out balloons of the Premier League trophy. So the next day's papers, they'd all been trying to find me. The next day's papers all had this editor who'd just been fired in disgrace, clutching a massive balloon with a huge grin on his face. So I have a lot of memories of that 24 hours, I have to say.
Did you get any songs sung at you that day, Piers? Anyone?
Actually, what I did get, when we went 1-0 down, I got a blizzard of text along the lines of "when it rains, it pours," which was particularly helpful. But no, it was great, and it was actually the perfect antidote to what was going on with me career-wise. It was just an amazing piece of escapism, and I can remember every second of that game.
Yeah, and that's what football does, isn't it?
Well, it does, and it gives you the great, the terrible lows that we're experiencing at the moment, Arsenal fans, of so close but no cigar, to the amazing achievement that season, which to be honest, in any one of those last few games, we could have tripped up. There was a lot of draws. It was very close. We actually drew, I think, 12 games that season. It wasn't like we won everything. So it was actually a tough season from start to finish. But we ended up creating history, and it's something I doubt will ever be replicated because the quality of the Premier League is so much better now that there are no easy games. You saw the craziness of Brighton losing 5-1 at the start of last week to Everton at home, and then beating us 3-0 yesterday. It shows you that the quality in that league now is like nothing compared to what it used to be. It's so much better. So I doubt anyone will do it.
Well, listen, you've been a sport talking to us about it. I'm a Forest fan, Piers, and you're playing Forest on Saturday, and we really need a point out of it, if possible.
You know what? Based on yesterday's game, mate, you probably beat us 9-0. Honestly, I think we've thrown the towel in. It's like Roberto Duran and the famous "No Mass." Yeah. No Mass.
No Mass. Just Morgan. There he is, Piers Morgan. Good sport. Thank you for coming on, Piers.
All right, guys, take care.
That's Piers Morgan there, and you can get his TalkTV show every night on TalkTV. And he's mourning a bit, but he can remember that time when Arsenal were pretty good.